Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. Please be seated. We trust that while you've been waiting for us, you've had a chance to read our acknowledgement to our friends and neighbors in the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh. Just before we begin this evening, I'm very, very happy to report, and no, it's not pickleball, not yet. I can see our pickleball friends, they're determined. Oh, we're getting an echo. Hello. Oh, yeah. Test 1, 2. Oh, yeah, no, that's not going to work. Should we just turn the microphones off and use our voices? Okay. Nope. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that, gang. Just very, very happy to report that council community has been successful in acquiring 4 very strategically important properties between the Seaview Trail and Marine Drive out in the western part of our community. And I'd ask if staff could bring up, who's got a copy of the picture? We've been able to acquire these 4 properties, and from a safety perspective, these have always been a challenge in negotiating with the owner of the property for rock removal on that incredibly tight corner. The properties also may form in the future part of the Seaview Trail, the park amenity. We were able to acquire those 4 properties for the grand sum of $200,000 per lot. Not a bad deal, and we thank John Wong, our we're pretty happy with that. And the money out of that, it comes out of our land fund, which was money left over from the acquisition of the waterfront property. And so no taxpayer money was required for this acquisition. So we're really happy to report that. That's been an issue in this community for as long as I can remember. So if I may, I'd like to ask Councillor Cassidy to approve the agenda tonight, please.
It is recommended the November 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Second.
Question, all in favor? Contrary, carried. Thank you. And now, gosh, it's a shame to have are we getting it better? Because we're honored this evening to welcome our friends from the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 60. But I feel terrible to have them come with the microphone sounding the way it does right now. Is it just my Well, actually, it doesn't matter as long as their microphones don't have this reverberation. Can we just test it? Oh.
Do you want me to test? Test.
Yeah, no, it's the same problem. Test 1, 2, 3. Can I suggest we turn the microphones off? You know, in the good old days, we didn't have these and these products on. Just turn them there.
Nobody watching the TV. Yeah.
Well,
I
just got worse.
Wow, sound.
Yeah, so our IT specialist is asking if anyone has a cell phone that's on, perhaps watching the proceedings on their phone. If you could please turn it off. Having said that, it seems that I think it's been located and fixed. So apologies for that delay. Let's get back to regular programming.
Thank you very much. Well, if I could, I'd like to welcome the members of our Royal Canadian Legion. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I believe you'll make a presentation.
This is the first copy we present to you on behalf of the Legion.
Thank you very much. And this is a particularly important year because it is, I believe, the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. It also is the 75th anniversary of our wonderful memorial library, which was constructed to represent in memory of those who lost their lives serving our country. So I sincerely hope that members of the public will be able to join. You'll be doing your annual parade starting, I believe, at 10:45. And the service right across from the Memorial Library. And hopefully everyone will be able to join us. And we thank you so much for being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy, please.
May I make a comment or
Please.
would you like me to read? So a few years ago, I went to see the battlefields in northern France. And for that term, lest we forget, I suggest that people go and see those battlefields. Your life will never quite be the same again. The acres and acres of white crosses for all those individuals who fought and died in the war to end all wars and in the Second World War. It definitely was an inordinately sobering experience. So with that, I recommended the presentation from the Royal Canadian Legion, West Vancouver Branch 60, be received for information with thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Snyder.
I second that.
Call a question. All in favor? Contrary carried. Thanks very much. And now we'll have a presentation on the housing targets report. Mr. Hawkins, thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening, Your Worship, and members of council and members of the public. So yes, this item is in response to the provincially issued housing targets and the requirement for a year 2 progress report. So the legislation in context is the Housing Supply Act. This was the legislation whereby West Vancouver was one of the first 10 municipalities within the province to be issued 5-year housing targets. So roughly a year ago, council received the year 1 report. In question tonight is therefore obviously the year 2 report, and to signpost there will be subsequent reports every fall for the remaining 3 years. Just to recall that in year one, the district achieved 26% of the target the province issued us, and it was under this act and its new legislative authority that the Minister of Housing deemed West Van was not making sufficient progress and exercised its authority to firstly appoint an advisor and subsequently issue land use directives. So there is a appendix attached to staff's report, which is really provincially determined. It's a template we have to fill out each section of the form. I've got about a slide on each. So the first thing the province is tracking is just the number itself. So you can see the first row in the table, year two in blue, West Vancouver achieved 114 units of the 242 targets, so almost 50% of the target. So that's obviously below the target, but I would point out that compared to year one, where 58 units were achieved, this is almost double the number of units were achieved in year two compared to year one. The province also asked us to summarize actions that have been taken. So for this reporting year, year two, it's certainly been a busy year. In addition to approvals and rezonings, council has not defeated anything that's come before them in this reporting year. Council has also very significantly rezoned for Cypress Village, so that's 3,700 units. And with those approvals in place, Director Bailey has formed an implementation team. Council has also rezoned its own land, so very close to here, 15th and Fulton, for housing purposes. Significant engagement and bylaw preparation was undertaken for the Ambleside Centre local area plan. And then just 2 weeks ago, Council gave first reading to a revised official community plan with a range of policy updates and set the date for a public hearing, which will take place in 2 weeks' time. At the bottom of the screen, these are all housing related but less impactful, but it's just a way of saying that our procedures bylaw, our housing needs report, and short-term rental requirements are all completely in line and compliant with other provincial legislative changes. The province also tracks all the units that they consider in stream between the start of the housing target, so that goes back 2 years, October 1st, 2023, and the end of year two. So you can see on the screen, there are roughly 350 units which are under construction. So that means building permits have been issued. There are also over 450 units where development permits, DPs, have been issued, but they're still pending building permit or BP. So in terms of the composition of those units in stream, so with issued building permits, these are under construction. So we would expect them to add to year three, perhaps year four reports, depending on the complexity and scale of the project. You'll see roughly 2/3 of the units under construction are in apartment forms. And then for projects where development permits, DPs, have been issued, the timing is harder to predict because they still require the submission review of building permits and the construction time itself. But we would expect some of these to come in stream or be approved, be completed at the later years of this housing target issuance. And again, you can see the composition is primarily multifamily forms. The province doesn't require this, but staff have included the information on this slide in the other information section and loosely characterizes the before and emerging. So the 2 rows in light blue, these are all building permits and development permits that have actually been in process or issued from before the reporting horizon, so before the October 2023 date. And then at the bottom of the table, preliminary applications that have come in over the course of year two. So there's obviously a lot of numbers on the screen, but if you try to add up in your heads the numbers on the right-hand column, it totals almost 1,300 net new units. So this is in addition to the roughly 800 units I described on the previous slide. We have included this because we think it's relevant for the province to understand. It does provide a more comprehensive picture of the amount of permits being reviewed, applications being reviewed within the planning department. The province also requires information regarding any applications that have been withdrawn or any that have not been approved by council. So column right, I think the most salient point is neither in year two nor in year one did council defeat any applications. However, applicants have withdrawn units. So we've also provided, as other information we think is relevant, some market data for the province. If applications are being withdrawn, this is one indicator of market conditions. So a couple of stats there in black, realtors will be familiar with these expressions, but sales to new listings have decreased by roughly 50%. So that's a metric of the number of new inventory that's being listed, how much of it actually proceeds to a sale. And then in terms of the overall inventory that's available, sales to active listings, that is also reduced by about 50%. So the point here is that we have been issued targets to increase supply, but the market conditions over the last 5 years are such that we actually have relatively more supply compared to demand. And this does impact development industry. Development is not a hobby, it's a business, and there is a less convincing business case to bring forward projects to introduce new supply when existing supply is taking longer to sell. So in terms of a snapshot, you can see in graph form, the blue line are the 5-year targets that West Vancouver was issued by the province. The totals are cumulative, so year 1 to 20, and then builds up to a total of 1,432 by year 5. The orange line where West Vancouver is from year 1 to year 2. So you can see the orange line is moving in the right direction. There has been progress. However, we are behind the target for year 2 at this point. But some of the numbers I've aimed to summarize indicate that if you count the total universe of what's in stream, then we have over 2,000 units. So it's more than the 1,432. Some of these will come on stream and be occupied year 3, year 4, year 5, etc. But we don't control the timing of exactly when units will be built and occupied. The final thing the province tracks is a summary of future initiatives. So you can see a list in black there of some of the imminent initiatives. The first 2 bullet points, these will be measured in a matter of months. There are 2 multifamily projects, one at 2195 Gordon, another executive at 6th Street. Combined, that will be roughly 150 units, which we would expect to receive occupancy in the coming months. As mentioned, Council is hosting a public hearing 2 weeks' time on an updated housing policy section of the OCP, which provides, to recall, both for our 20-year housing needs capacity and also these 5-year housing targets. As mentioned, Council has rezoned Fulton lands. The RFP process, the request for proposal process, recently closed. Council will be in a position to direct next steps. Cypress Village implementation is ongoing. The local area plan broadly for Ambleside is advancing and has advanced. 2 recent examples would be at the site-specific level. Council directed a project at 1552 Esquimalt and a second one at 1763 Bellevue, more commonly known as the former Masonic Hall site. Council directed both applications to proceed through the process. And then lastly, Taylor Way LAP, including Park Royal, is also something Council has indicated as a priority. So in summary, Council has taken action and can continue to take action on housing. The 2 main methods obviously being approvals of applications that come before you for rezoning, and also when policy initiatives, local area plans, official community plan amendments come before you. Those policies are more enabling, they provide more development opportunity, which will lead to more rezoning applications that you can then consider. So in conclusion, the recommendation is per legislative requirements, in short, that Council receive, publish and submit the year 2 reports to the Ministry of Housing. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Councillor Gannon, please.
I was hoping you could go back to that little slide of the graph, but perhaps we all remember it. Can you do that? Thank you. Yeah, this one. So just in reading your report the other day and working with my calculator, because the province is counting these numbers as occupancies, in other words, new units, I don't see how there's any way we could ever reach these targets by 2028. So do you have any comment on that? Have you done that math? Because based on the building permits and development permits, I don't see how it's even possible.
Through your worship to Councillor Gambioli. Yes, certainly recognise the concern. It is very hard to predict. So the examples I gave of what we would anticipate very imminently, 2195 Gordon and Executive on 6th Street. they're a reflection of decisions a few years ago. So sometimes one of those projects I think would characterize itself as perhaps ahead of schedule, one perhaps as having taken a little longer than they would have liked. So it is difficult for staff to predict. But what we've endeavored to summarize is that there is a lot in stream, but I would agree that it is unlikely, recognizing we're starting from a position of deficit to meet the 5-year target within 5 years.
Right, okay, so, I just wanted to manage expectations. Because although we might be, approving some developments, that doesn't mean we're creating units. So there's a big difference. So anyway, we're not gonna meet these targets no matter how hard we try. So I think that, by 2028, I'm not saying that we're not going in the right direction, which we are, but anyway, just we need to temper our expectations. So just a second question is, given that for about the last 40 or more years, our planning department has been very tiny in the scheme of things because we haven't really been doing any increases in population or actual, more in the scheme of things, increasing the population with any kind of density. Throughout this next near future, do we have enough staff to do all this work in the planning department?
Australia.
Through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli, I mean, that's something that we look at carefully with our municipal manager, our director of finance every year to make sure that we are properly resourced. At this point, I think that we are. I think our staff work incredibly hard and it is a challenge, but I think that we currently are adequately resourced. You'll note that one of the biggest sort of gains where we are looking at the most sort of units is in the Cypress Village area. And that's an area where council has provided for a cost recovery agreement with the developer. So as development ramps up there, we're well positioned to be able to have the resources at no cost to the taxpayer to help offset those. Mr. Hawkins and Ms. McGuire, in the current planning group, we currently monitor and watch for trends and changes and hire accordingly. But it is something that we certainly watch for and we're mindful of as we go into board and into budget deliberations.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you. Councillor Snyder, could I ask for a motion, please?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to recommend that the District of West Van's 2-year annual housing target progress report attached as Appendix A to the October 15th, 2025 report from the community planner and assistant planner be received, published on the district website and submitted to the BC Ministry of Housing as required by legislation.
Thank you, Councillor Gambioli. Could I ask you for a second?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to hold my comments on this. The report is excellent, Mr. Hawkins. It's a real shame that the province, we never want to lose you. But if they had someone over there that was as wise and thoughtful as you, they might not come up with such ridiculous legislation. But there'll be a lot more to be said about that by myself and other mayors around Metro Vancouver later this week. Councillor Lambert.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Sager. I just wanted to voice my appreciation for the context that you've provided with this report. It's one thing to report on the actual numbers, it's the other thing to have an understanding of what our capacity might be. So by identifying those units before and emerging the 1,300 units, that makes what appears to be on the surface of a relatively poor performance on the part of West Vancouver look potentially a lot better. And the other thing that we have to keep in mind also is the fact that we have our supply is well exceeding demand in the current marketplace, and it's turning downwards as well too. So try as we might, we can improve many units, but if the development industry doesn't have the appetite, there isn't penciling out, then it's not going to happen. And again, that's not to say that we're not going to continue to try to improve that situation and build in the areas and the types of housing that we need. but it does take some understanding of the bigger context. So I just wanted to make those comments.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert. Quite true. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary, carried. Thanks very much. And now I understand we have a presentation from our Seniors Advisory Roundtable. And good evening.
Thank you. Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is James Ray, Customer Service and Senior Service Manager here at the District of West Vancouver. And I'm joined tonight by Melanie Hess, who is a current Seniors Advisory Roundtable member and active member of the West Vancouver Seniors Activity Centre. In July of 2024, we presented to you the results of the Facility Needs Assessment and Feasibility Study, which laid the groundwork for a reimagined West Vancouver Seniors Activity Centre. Council approved the recommendation to create a Seniors Advisory Roundtable to further explore a plan for the future of the Seniors Activity Centre. Tonight, we would like to provide an overview of the work and outcome of the roundtable and next steps, as well as recommendations for Council's consideration.
Thanks, James. Hello, Mayor Sager and Council, and all of the cheerleaders behind us. We appreciate it. I am also here tonight as a senior, my most valued credential. Thanks to the foresight and determination of the district, seniors, and others, the West Vancouver Senior Citizen Centre, as it was originally named, officially opened on June 26, 1981. Since then, it has been part of the district's identity and a special place where seniors are supported, appreciated, and valued. But times have changed and seniors have changed. We are growing in number, we are living longer, we are diverse, we are active, we contribute, we want to age in our community. SAC needs to adapt and evolve accordingly. The district, designated an age-friendly community, also acknowledges in its strategic plan and the official community plan the need to reframe age and aging. With this in mind, and with district financial support, SAC proactively embarked on a project to determine its future.
So as I said earlier, we have presented a few times to Council. So we have here a slide just outlining the project timeline as a bit of a recap. So this project began in July 2022, and throughout the project, staff have worked collaboratively with community members such as Melanie, and as Melanie alluded to, many who are behind us here today. The project began with a facility needs assessment and feasibility study, which was a thorough review of current facility, the needs of seniors in the community, and how we might best be able to meet those needs. This work included public consultation and the hiring of HCMA, a consultant to lead the study. In December 2023, the project with HCMA was at the midway point, and the working group provided an update to Council on those findings to date. In July 2024, the working group returned to Council to present full findings of the facility needs assessment and feasibility study. At the conclusion of that project, the working group determined that they were not prepared to make a recommendation to Council on the future of the Seniors Activity Centre without further consultation with seniors within the community. It was at this time that the working group requested a Seniors Advisory Roundtable to be created to bring together senior serving organizations in the community to help them review the needs of seniors and make a recommendation to Council. This group was formed in November of 2024, and the group has returned tonight to present their findings and recommendations. Thank you. So the Seniors Advisory Roundtable, which as mentioned was formed in November of 2024, included representatives from the Seniors Activity Centre Advisory Board, various community partners, North Shore senior serving organizations, Vancouver Coastal Health, municipal, provincial, and federal government, Enhance West Van, and district staff, with a special thank you to Councillor Lambert for his continued support throughout the project. The roundtable met a total of 6 times over the last year and provided advice about a renovation versus a rebuild, a review of various senior centers across Canada, a seniors hub model, and a funding strategy. The findings from both the meetings and research that was conducted, which I will let Melanie speak to in a second here, is how the roundtable ultimately came to the conclusion that a new build is required to best meet the needs of seniors now and into the future.
The building is 45 years old. It has been expanded twice in 1994 and 2001, a long time ago. Since then, there have been some minor renovations to some of the space, such as the Fabric Arts Room, Coffee Bar, and the Frank Cruz Rehabilitation Center. The roundtable considered a renovation and a rebuild. While a renovation would be relatively less costly, potentially less disruptive and less time-consuming to complete, it doesn't make sense in the long term because only a portion of the existing facility can structurally support a second story. Unforeseen issues and costs may arise, such as electrical and plumbing upgrades. Major building components will reach end of service life, necessitating costly upgrades and repairs. The building as a whole will become obsolete, and there are limited options to reconfigure or increase current space. More space is needed, particularly during peak operating hours, to help address wait lists for some programs, spillover of SAC programs into the community center, and to provide significant additional space for components such as food services, which have reached capacity, a multi-purpose gym, our gift store, storage, office space, and a larger lobby area. A new build allows for accommodating the growing number of seniors in West Vancouver, a rebranding of SAC by eliminating outdated impressions and or misperceptions of what the center is, what it offers, and for whom, attracting younger seniors whose needs and interests differ from older seniors, incorporating a hub, and designing the space to meet our needs and preferences for a larger, modern facility that is built to last, aesthetically pleasing, multifunctional, incorporates environmentally sustainable and energy efficient features, meets seismic standards, and ensures full accessibility for all users. There are movements across Canada and the United States to review and renew senior centers, the physical premises, the programs and services offered, and the identification of best practices. These movements are driven by aging infrastructure, changing demographics, evolving needs, and an increased focus on inclusion, both in terms of diversity among seniors and to counteract social isolation. The roundtable took a look at other senior centers to see how they are adapting to changes in their communities and what SAC can learn as a result. Key takeaways include: there is no one size fits all. Centers must reflect unique local circumstances and the people they serve. Senior centers are becoming comprehensive, multi-purpose facilities that continue to focus on recreational and social opportunities while also addressing overall wellness and helping seniors age in place. The buildings are state-of-the-art inside and out, and the centers work collaboratively to help ensure that seniors can access local programs and services. The roundtable also explored the concept of a seniors hub. As stated in the San Diego Master Plan for Senior Centers, a senior center is more than bricks and mortar. It's a gateway to a vibrant aging network. There are different hub models. A hub can be a one-stop shop, or it can be part of a broader network, whereby SAC would provide some programs and services and link to others nearby. While the roundtable did not determine a specific model, it concluded that it is sensible and desirable to incorporate a hub in some form into a new build. When designed properly, a hub would have several benefits. It would connect to a broader community rather than operating programs and services in isolation, facilitate aging in place, simplify access and navigation for West Vancouver seniors, improve efficiency by integrating and coordinating North Shore programs and services, attract agencies and organizations to have a presence in West Vancouver, minimize duplication or fragmentation, address gaps in services, and maximize expertise and resources. Roundtable members shared suggestions for a strategy to fund a new build, meeting with representatives from other senior centers to learn about how they funded their buildings, consulting with government officials for grant opportunities, offering naming rights and sponsorships, utilizing SAC funds, and undertaking a fundraising campaign. The new build will, of course, require a fundraising campaign, as most of the money would need to come from private donations. Preliminary discussions have taken place with some local foundation representatives. Seniorhood comes to all of us. The opening of SAC in 1981 was a pivotal moment. We are at another pivotal moment when we can work together as a community to make a new build happen. It will be a multi-year, multi-staged process that must begin now. Both the Roundtable and SAC board recommend a new build. A new building is a concrete manifestation of how much we value current and future seniors. It will help ensure that seniors continue to lead fulfilling lives while enriching the lives of others. James will now finish our presentation.
Thank you, Melanie. So we have 5 recommendations tonight for council's consideration, which I'll go through here. First being the October 1st, 2025 report titled Seniors Advisory Roundtable Update from the Customer and Senior Services Manager be received for information. Staff review the scope for a new build of the Seniors Activity Center provided in the Seniors Activity Center Facility Needs Assessment and Feasibility Study. Staff review potential locations for a new build of the West Vancouver Seniors Activity Center. Staff report back to council in spring 2026 with a recommendation on next steps to develop a comprehensive business plan for a new build of the Seniors Activity Center in West Vancouver. And that staff be directed to continue communicating with all stakeholders involved in the community initiative related to the future of ice sports in West Vancouver. This now concludes our presentation. We will now take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ms. Hess, Mr. Ray. I've got to tell you, it's quite something to sit and listen to the presentation and think back to 1981. And I was at the ribbon cutting as a school trustee. And then in 1994, when we cut the when I was the mayor and we renovated the facility. And I think the one thing in designing a new building, we better design it for 100-year lifespan. 50 years just seems too short. Councilor Gambioli.
Geez, I always seem to be the first one with the questions. Okay, so your last recommendation there, staff be directed to continue communicating with all stakeholders involved in the community initiative related to future of ice sports?
Yeah, so through the mayor to Councilor Gambioli, this is in relation to the Skate Forward initiative that Enhance West Van has put forward. So staff are well aware that there's 2 projects that are going to be a focal point for the community, and we realize that we need to work in cohesion with the 2 of them. So there's currently the multi-ice complex committee, which is happening, and we have a representative from the advisory board who sits on that to ensure that there's cohesion amongst the 2 projects moving forward.
Because they're in the same close area potentially? Is that why?
Yes, because one of the proximity, but also because of the scale of the 2 projects and the need for both sectors of the community.
Yeah, just I think there's a real, what I'm happy to hear is there's a real appreciation for the challenges we have in funding this much needed facility. And you're quite right, we have a lot of community demand for new ice. And so it's gonna take some real creativity from all of us to figure out how we're gonna do this.
Okay, so on that note, I will also say that we need to add the new Arts and Culture Center to your list, because that's also been on the books for even longer. So I would suggest that we might want to add that to the motion, just to make sure that we don't forget about that item as well. But so a couple of suggestions and then questions. I noticed at the beginning of the report, you said that seniors population is set to increase by 72% by 2041. So again, just playing off what the mayor just said, you know, a new build presumably would last 50. I mean, this current build has lasted not 50 yet years. So what I would like to see going forward is what is predicted to be the seniors population well after 2041, like for at least the next 50 years. You know, they have those diagrams about the, you know, the baby boomers kind of move up, but then what happens after? Because if the seniors population is actually predicted to go down after 2041, then we need to think about resizing the building. Just because it's going up in 15 years, it's going to be hardly built in 15 years, to be honest, right? So we need to consider way past 2041, in my opinion. So I'd like to see some of the stats that are predicted after that. And I would just say that, I guess you're aware of this, but my thoughts would be, you know, I think the community would like to see more of a connection with the current rest of the rec center, as you said, with the different wraparound type of groups, but you know, just the dynamic of young people and seniors. And I would like to see something, if anything's being proposed, that there's even more of a connection rather than you know, a bit of a silo effect in the future. And what about a residential component? Has that been discussed or proposed?
Through the mayor to Councilor Gambioli, it was part of our discussions as a seniors advisory roundtable that one of the ways to help mitigate potential costs as well would be to have some sort of housing component, but it would also provide a benefit to the community as a whole. So it's been a part of our roundtable discussions. If we move forward into the next steps, that would be a heavy consideration of the future work.
I would suggest that that is a major consideration. And my last question would be, so with these motions, then you're proposing that we're deciding here between a big reno and a brand new building, and you're wanting to go forward with the brand new building. So by passing these recommendations, we would be on one track to not the reno, but the brand new building.
Yes, that is the recommendation at this time of the roundtable, correct.
But we will be coming back in the spring of 2026 with updated costing from the original numbers that were in the visioning report, possible sites as well, and a better scoping out of the project and the fundraising component. So this isn't your last kick at the can. You'll have another chance to consider and decide in the spring.
Thank you. Councillor Watt, please.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I have quite a few questions and comments. So the current center was built, what was it, 45 years ago approximately, and our population has only grown by about 6,000 in that time. So was it built just for the population of the day, or what has changed? I mean, I recognize that seniors are living longer. So are there a lot more people using the facility than there were then, given the rather limited population growth?
Yes, Mr. Gray.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Watt. Yes, I mean, as I can't speak to the decision back then on the size of the facility and whatnot, but as Melanie was alluding to there, seniors are, you know, living longer as you said, but also they're just engaging in more recreational activities. There's also been a handful of renovations to the center over that time. It started out as a much smaller facility, and things were expanded in terms of rooms. The food services was not an initial part of the facility, so that was added on. So there's been a number of renovations over the years, and we're at the point where just with the demand that we have in that facility, we are starting to move into other centers like the community center to offer some of our longtime programs.
Okay, thanks. I've got quite a few comments here, sorry. So there were several San Diego comparatives, but what I noticed, now that report I believe was about 5 years old, and most of the facilities they were looking at were 18,000 to 35,000 square foot builds for $6 to $10 million US, which would be 50 to 65 million. If you look at our 70 to 90 million, that would be 50 to 65 million. So I'm trying to understand, well, I guess an additional comment that I had, have we looked at less architecturally spectacular builds? Are we building for function, award-winning projects, which yes, our community center was, but it concerns me the $72 to $93 million price tag. So I'm just trying to understand the difference in the comparative models that you added.
Sure, through the Mayor Council. So the pricing that is in the report was through HCMA, the consultant that took on the project a few years back. And that was 25% more or less based on Class D. Part of the work that staff would look to do as the next steps would be firming up the cost. We've heard from several folks throughout our meetings and through meetings with the Seniors Advisory Roundtable that number may feel a bit hefty versus, as you said, what we've seen with other centers. So that number is definitely not firm. It would be something that staff would come back to in the spring with a more concrete price tag.
Okay, sorry, and bear with me. Okay, sorry. So in going to some of Councillor Gambioli's comments about the ice arena and the art center, when you add the sum total of those bills, all as being presented as being necessary, I believe that it would be prudent for our finance staff, municipal manager, and other senior levels of staff to somehow put together a priority report, something where we take a deeper dive into all three of these asks. And I am not remotely negating the need for a seniors activity center, to be upgraded, rebuilt, expanded. But I'm alarmed as a councillor, and when I look at where and how we're going to find these funds. And one thing that was in the report that you added was that it is extremely difficult to raise funds privately for these facilities for seniors, that philanthropy has not shifted, that the funds don't come. Now, we are a more affluent community than most, so hopefully that would have a bearing. But I suppose I wonder, how do we raise these funds for this with these two other very strong and compelling competing asks?
But I think that the purpose of the next stage here is to work on all of those questions, as I understand it.
Yeah.
It is going to take some creativity to find a way to do this, and I appreciate that the board, the people that have brought these recommendations and worked with you, recognize that. And
yeah,
we are an affluent community, and we need to be creative here.
Yeah, so sorry, if you can bear with, I'll just stick to one more. So the city of Vernon is in the process of completing a $135.9 million active living center. So that, I presume, encompasses everything. 121 million of that was approved in a long-term 30-year loan through a referendum in the 2022 election. So those numbers concern me. So it would appear that they got roughly $14–15 million from other sources. So that was very sobering, those numbers. Anyway,
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Cassidy, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. In essence, we have three asks. We have the skating rink, which they've asked for approximately $60 million. We have yourselves, and then we have the arts individuals who a few years ago was $38 million, but money goes up, so probably is now about $50 million. And so that's a lot of asks. So should we say no? What is the square footage right now of the senior center?
26,000 square feet.
26,000 square feet. And how many thousand more square feet would you like, technically?
You can't answer for certain tonight, but the
A ballpark.
HCMA report was roughly 47,000-ish.
47,000.
Not quite double, yeah.
Okay, and you would want all this on the same site?
Not necessarily. It certainly has advantages, but one thing we'd want to look at is other possibilities, other district land, non-district land.
So we have a site at 17th and Bellevue, the Masonic Hall, which is zoned community use. And right now, of course, I want it to stay community use, yay me. But should others not agree with me and vote for the project, right now, that project is prepared to give us 6,000 square feet for community use. If we could finagle with them and get 12,000 square feet for community use, which is second floor, and maybe even harass them to the point of getting the ground floor, that conceivably is 18,000 square feet given to you, courtesy of whatever building conceivably may or may not be approved. So, if you don't have the money, you have to get, what's the expression? It's gone from me. Think outside the box. So that's one way of conceivably outside the box. I want community use, but I may not get what I want. So that's a thought there. I do know that one of the reasons that your building is so busy is, number one, seniors are living longer. Number two, the reputation you have is phenomenal. And you probably get a lot of people also coming from North Vancouver. So, the building is bulging. The secret of too much success. So I'm in your camp, don't worry about that. But the problem is, where are we going to get all this money? And, they ain't making any more. Unless you're the government of Canada, and it's called inflation. But anyway, other than that, thank you very much for the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy.
Councillor Snyder, could I ask for a motion, please?
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Councillor Lambert, you are the person who has worked so diligently, and you need to make this motion.
And I will begin with the first motion to recommend that the October 1st, 2025 report titled Seniors Advisory Roundtable Update from the Customer and Senior Services Manager be received for information. Sasani?
Yes, it's on.
Okay.
Second that.
We'll move it all as one.
Okay.
Motion.
Well, I have a few comments to make. I was moving the motion, so I was waiting for everyone else to speak, but I just wanted to remind everyone that this project is part of our strategic plan, and it's something that we've made a commitment to. And as Ms. Hess and Mr. Ray have pointed out, and the reports have pointed out as well, we know that the demand for programs and services is way up and is growing. We know that our seniors population for the foreseeable future is growing. And we know that the building that you cut the ribbon to as a school trustee, Mr. Mayor, has timed out effectively at 45 years of age. So there's clearly a rationale for a new facility. And the ask here isn't for funding. The ask here is assistance in confirming the scope of the project and assistance in site selection for it. And those are two preconditions for an effective fundraising program which would follow. And just on the point of the cost and affordability and priorities of projects, of course, the Arts Center is a priority project in our strategic plan. And so too, I believe, well, I'm not sure actually if the skating rink is is a priority in our strategic plan, but it is a project that we are following and developing. And none of them are mutually exclusive. All of them require funding that is beyond our capacity as a municipality right now. So again, I go back to the ask of this particular project at this time, you know, for the scope confirmation and site selection that leads to the funding. And maybe just as one final comment on the role of this facility in West Vancouver, it has served us very well. And what the group, what SAC and the Roundtable has been striving to do is to stretch the boundaries of that, to be responsive to our existing and future seniors, and to integrating that facility with the community center as well. It's not a silo. It is a vital and vibrant part of our community, and it deserves all the attention it can get. So.
Thank you, Councillor Lambert. Could I ask you to continue with the balance of the motion? We've got number 1 done.
Recommend that the staff review the scope for a new build of the Senior Activity Center provided in the Seniors Activity Center Facility Needs Assessment and Feasibility Study. And 3, staff review the potential locations for a new build of the Seniors Activity Center. And 4, staff report back to council in spring 2026 with a recommendation on next steps to develop a comprehensive business plan for a new build of the Seniors Activity Center in West Vancouver. And 5, staff be directed to continue communicating with all stakeholders involved in the community initiative related to the future of ice sports in West Vancouver.
Thank you, Councillor White.
I will second that, but I would also like to propose a friendly amendment. In addition, it could be number 6, that staff consider this proposal in conjunction with the, I had it written better in my notes, my apologies, but I don't feel that we can physically consider all of this without considering the other asks. And I don't know if that looks like some kind of an oversight committee that looks at major projects or what that is, but I don't believe that we can consider one without considering all 3. We need to somehow prioritize.
No, I think, but I think that we have that covered in the strategic plan. Yes. And with our budgeting process.
And I think each of these projects is unique. It attracts different types of funding opportunities. And I'm excited at the thought that we're going to think a little bit out of the box and find creative solutions. I think there is a creative solution.
I am all for that.
Sorry, Councillor Gambioli, you're making.
Yeah, I just think we're confusing things a bit. I would just like to make a friendly amendment to number 5 that says related to the future of ice sports and the Arts and Culture Center project proposal in West Vancouver, just so that we're all on the same page. I don't think it needs to be separate. If the reasoning for keeping the ice sports people in the loop is so that the major projects are all on the same page, then we just simply add the Arts and Culture Center as well as the ice sports into that last number 5, I think.
Well, I think that the reason that the ice sports is in there is because the senior center sits on the same site as the community center, and there is a explicit desire to keep those 2 facilities in close proximity, whether they're side by side or close by, but near enough in the vicinity of the community center site. And we do know that the Skate Forward group is looking at the community center site as well. As far as I know, the arts, and so that was the concern.
But that's not what staff said. What the presenter said is that the reason number 5 is in there is so that everybody doing major projects is all on the same page. That was my specific question earlier. So I'm going by what the presenters told us.
So you've asked for a friendly amendment. I'll ask if the mover and seconder accept that as a friendly amendment.
I can accept it, but not for the reasons that
Well,
Councilor Gambino said,
all right.
so that's fine.
So would you agree to second that?
I would agree to second it because I do not believe that we can be fiscally responsible. And looking at all these in separate silos, I believe that it all must be looked at together.
As long as we understand that each one may have very different solutions. So the friendly amendment has been accepted. The motion is in front of you. So I will see no one else wishing to speak. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Contrary?
I know I'm not contrary, I'm just indifferent.
Okay. The motion is carried, and I would like to thank both of you and the cheering team for coming in tonight. We look forward to working with you to make this dream a reality. And now for our last report of the evening, Ms. Rasta, it's always wonderful to see you. A little update on another wonderful event.
Sorry.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Christy Rasta, the Cultural Services Manager. I am very pleased to be here tonight to present the highlights of the 2025 Harmony Arts Festival. Oops, sorry. The 2025 Harmony Arts Festival was held from August 1st to 10th. It was very well received by the community, and it is West Vancouver's signature summertime festival that brings the community together on the waterfront. The festival is open and accessible to all, and it is a showcase of visual and performing artists and local businesses and partners. Together with our volunteers, we hosted a 10-day celebration with over 150,000 visitors. The festival featured over 60 musical performances, 3 exhibitions, 2 art markets, and an 800-seat licensed lounge. Generally, 36% of festival goers live in West Vancouver and 30% are from North Vancouver. Festival goers also come from Vancouver and the surrounding Metro Vancouver areas. Many visitors attend the festival 3 to 5 days, with some visiting all 10 days. Popular bands like Bobby Bruce, Nearly Neil, and the Solitary Band, and the Paperboys, they draw a huge crowd, mostly West Vancouverites, and up to 6,000 attendees. Each year, the festival introduces new bands to attract new audiences. This ensures a strong nightly attendance and that food and beverage sales targets are met throughout the duration of the festival. The festival is a large volunteer program that supports all of the program areas over 10 days. Volunteers range from 14 to 93 years of age, and this year they contributed over 1,400 volunteer hours. That equals $37,870 in time donated. The festival, it raises over $500,000 each year, actually more. And this year the district provided $66,800 in seed money to launch the planning of the festival. This year we raised $186,000 in sponsorship funds. We received a new grant from the Provincial Destination Events Programs grant for $54,800, and over $297,000 is earned through Food and Beverage Commission, art market, tent rentals, ticket event, and donations. We have amazing committed sponsors. A lot of our sponsors have been with us over 20 years. Olive Brown Limited, I think they were at 23 years this year. Many of our local business partners like Park Royal, British Properties, Remax, Park Retirement Living, and Ani They are so committed, and it's a phone call to them, and they're so proud to be a part of the festival. Best of the West is a culinary experience that has been a part of the festival for 14 years. This year, 10 out of the 12 restaurants that participated were from West Vancouver. Kay-Meek hosted the Paper Boys on opening night and had an activation sharing information about Kay-Meek Arts Centre for all 10 days of the festival. Zero waste. So festivals generate a fair amount of garbage. We're really proud to say that we are a zero waste festival. We are proud to report that we achieved a 78.5 diversion rate. Each year, we work with vendors to try and improve our zero waste efforts. Marketing. So the festival received attention from both traditional media outlets and digital audiences. We have an extensive online digital campaign that is effective and it's very cost effective. The festival received attention with traditional media as well. So the traditional media is some of our festival goers' favorite. They love the schedule, they love the insert in the North Shore News. We have a 91.35% rate for readership, which is huge. This year we will bring back the published festival schedule. We didn't have it this year. People were very disappointed, so we will bring it back for 2026.
Ms. Rosta, there are simply not enough words that I can say to show my appreciation to you, to your fellow staff members, and all the volunteers who have made this such a wonderful event. It's really quite fabulous. Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Thank you so much. So the district contributed 66,000, and given that we have so many sponsors, do we have room for another one or two where we don't have to put in any funds because we're already putting it out commercially?
We do have room for a few more sponsors. However, it would not reach 66,000. I think we could probably do another 20 in sponsorship.
Okay, and paraphernalia, you know, the sale of that, that kind of thing. I know we obviously sell alcohol and food, but I think I've brought this up a couple of times, t-shirts, bags, anything like that that might help bridge the gap. So my apologies. Yeah, again, it talks about promoting local artists, but there are still a significant number of artists. Are there not from other areas outside the Lower Mainland, or are we sticking?
That is correct. The art market particularly has a large showing from, I would say, Sea to Sky, North Shore, and Vancouver, mainly. And it actually has been that way for well over 20 years. The group exhibition has a lot more artists from West Vancouver, and that's a large exhibition in a tent, a big 20 by 30 tent, mainly paintings and photography.
Thank you. And just a quick comment in looking at the breakdown of where people are from. I see that it's about a third, well, 34% not from the North Shore, so go pay parking.
Okay. Councillor Gambia.
No, 64% are not locals, some are from North Van. No, I guess I'm just saying there is the potential to bring in further funds this coming year through the pay parking that has been extended in Ambleside Park. So that will help facilitate raising more funds toward this.
Thank you. Councillor Gambia, please.
Either that or we won't have as many people show up. I'm not sure which.
Or they'll take the bus.
Or they'll hopefully arrive other than in a car. So I will repeat what the mayor said and say that it's amazing how many volunteers are involved, and we really need to thank them all, and also our staff. I know that Christy and Doty, you guys are involved, and I know that Christy, Ms. Rosta, you've been involved for I don't know how many years, at least a dozen or more. And I know that your full family doesn't see you for at least about 10 days or 2 weeks at that time. So you really pay a personal price, and wow, we really need to thank you. Very impressed with the zero waste diversion program. That's awesome. And I'd just like to know what, we've done some tweaks this especially this past year. We've cut down on certain things, we've increased it. What are your personal feelings after all the years of knowing this festival, about how it went this past year?
This year, I believe, had the biggest attendance on certain nights. And what I really appreciated was the age range on some of our bigger nights, like Nearly Neil, the Paper Boys. It was grandparents and their grandchildren, and then the parents. We still don't have a large children's program, and that's okay, because that's we're focusing on the evening entertainment. But yeah, the large concerts had huge crowds and a huge age range of community members coming together.
And incredibly well behaved.
Unbelievable.
Incredibly well mannered, well behaved. Just felt great. Could I ask Councillor Watt for a motion of thanks? Sorry, Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you very much for the report. So am I to understand that essentially we broke even? Much profit? I missed the numbers.
That's correct.
So essentially we broke even.
We broke even, yes. We
Right.
made budget.
And not to be a Debbie Downer, but everybody has to have a perspective. So 36% of the population was from West Van. So 66% of the population was not from West Van. So we're putting on an event for 66% of a population to break even. Yeah, okay, that's that one. That's 1 and 2. And so how do the businesses in the Ambleside Dundrave area, how profitable are they during this festival?
Through our surveys, they say that their businesses increased.
The businesses all increased.
Yeah, they have higher visitorship. So this is through the surveys. And when we talk about the 36%, West Van, 30%, North Van, these are the people that have filled out the surveys. We certainly don't work with everyone that comes through the door. What some of the bigger nights have the 6,000 attendees, and I would say largely from West Vancouver and perhaps North Vancouver, but a huge West Vancouver showing.
Huge Vancouver showing?
West Vancouver
showing.
And so the next day we have a Harmony hangover, and people just can't come 10 straight days. So we do have acts that draw from across the bridge. We have acts that draw from Whistler. And then those folks that come over, they visit our restaurants, they take a day in West Vancouver. So we do try and promote that. So when you come over, enjoy all of West Van.
Has there been any thought given to making it a shorter event?
Yes, we did, and we surveyed the community. It didn't go very well, so we never pursued it. But we did survey the community to determine if
How do you mean, excuse me, I don't mean to be rude. How do you mean it didn't go very well?
Nobody wanted it shorter. Everyone said, why on earth would you do that? And we said, well, budget reasons and a variety of other, it's a long time. 10 days is it's quite a long festival. And the 5-day question was not well received by the community.
Mm-hmm. Has any thought been given to shortening it? I know how much work you put into it, but shortening it, and then maybe, for example, having another festival elsewhere in the community.
We can definitely reach out to the community again for 2026.
Councillor Cassidy, I think if you were to talk to the local business community, I was there almost every day, and any thought that that festival should be shortened, I don't think would go anywhere with the general public. People love it. I actually talked to a lot of people who did go for every day and enjoy it. And I think about when we started this, my council back in the 90s, it cost us a lot more money than it does today. When we started this festival, I don't think any of us would have dreamt it was going to become as successful as it is. And that's thanks to all of the volunteers and to our staff who have just done a wonderful job. Ms. Kettler, I see your mic on.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind council that last year, staff worked with the ADBIA and created, they reconfigured the art market and created gaps in between with some seating and umbrellas, and really increased the visibility between the art market into the business district, sort of at the request of the ADBIA. That worked well, and certainly the feedback that we heard from the ADBIA, that was very positive, and that continued again this year. And just to build on what Ms. Rasta talked about, and to Councillor Cassidy's question about the idea of shortening, that was considered. It was not considered necessarily just to shorten to only have, let's say, a 4 or 5 day festival. It was more considered to have it over 2 consecutive weekends, and then maybe sort of Tuesday to Thursday or Monday to Thursday, not to sort of have the festival pause. What was clear was that there's so much overhead cost to get the site set up that the cost savings was actually quite small. There were some because you weren't having musical acts, but then you weren't bringing all that revenue in. And there's a huge outlay to get the site ready, for that 10 days. So your question was more about, would you just have a 5-day festival?
No, maybe 7 days.
7 days. So typically
some semblance of profitability.
Yeah, and weekends are when people generally have more time and are able to come. So that's sort of the reasoning to have it, an 11-day concert festival over 2 weekends.
Okay,
so
thank you.
Feedback.
Councillor Watt.
Yeah. I know we discussed this last year and you did have it set up for generating donations. Was that through Squarespace or a cash bin? How was it, and how much did we raise just through donations?
So the product that we used is called Tip Tap.
Okay.
And I believe the Legion uses it during their poppy sales. So I believe we generated only about $1,800, and that was also through the Bike Valet. So for 2026, we are looking at a new campaign that would have volunteers, instead of passing the hat, it would be passing the Tip Tap. It's popular to pass a hat, and it used to generate about $8,000 for us in the past. So for 2026, we'll revamp that. We had the Tip Tap stationery, and that just wasn't effective. So
instead we're gonna get some volunteers to have a sign on their back and just walk around a bit.
Yeah, and maybe a stage presence.
Or a stage presence.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Watt, could I ask you for a motion, please?
Yeah, and thank you so much for all that you do for this. I'd like to recommend that the October 21, 2025 report from the Cultural Services Manager titled Harmony Arts Festival 2025 update be received for information.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy.
Okay.
Thank you. No further discussion, question, all in favor? Contrary, carried. Thank you so much. Thank you both of you. Consent agenda item, could I ask Councillor Slack?
Yes, I'd like to recommend the consent agenda items as written.
Thank you, Councillor Gambioli. Call a question, all in favor? Contrary, carried. Reports from Mayor and Council. I would just like to say it was an honor for me to be invited last week to the swearing in of the new Squamish Council. They had hundreds of people attend. They put on quite a performance. And of course, congratulations to Wilson Williams, their new chair, who has served on our West Vancouver Police Board. He's a really wonderful fellow. It was great to be there and celebrate his swearing. Any other reports from anyone? Can I have a motion just to receive that simple report? Councillor Cassidy, please.
I recommend the all reports from mayor and councillors be received for information.
Councillor Lambert, seconded. Thank you. Are there any members of the public who have any questions this evening? And seeing none, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor Sager, I apologize.
Sorry.
We have one name on the list, Dana Taylor, if she's.
Mr. Taylor, nice to see you. Do you have a question for us tonight?
No, I'm good, I'm on later.
No, this is the end of the agenda.
All right, then I am on, sorry, I got a call, yes, please.
Mr. Taylor, it's nice to see you. It's been a while.
Yes. Thank you very much.
I do a short straw this evening, your worship, members of council, but nevertheless, very pleased to be here. My name is David Taylor. I live on the west side, now in the Glen Eagles area, and as of Halloween last Friday for the past 38 years. I'm here representing the West Vancouver pickleball players, an active pickleball community of about 250 players. As you have heard from past presenters, our group continues to remain anxious and vigilant in following council's progress to produce promised outdoor courts in the Western region, and likely as discussed at or near the Glen Eagles Community Centre. It is with great anticipation that a final agreement will soon be reached that will produce the facilities we seek to the benefit of all West Vancouver in time for summer play. Time marches on. At your October 20th meeting, we learned that negotiations were well underway and progressing with BC Hydro regarding the availability and suitability of that company's neighboring property, or as the mayor reported at the time, the land being referred to as across the road from the Glen Eagles Community Centre. It is entirely appropriate that BC Hydro, a publicly owned public utility, would want to share its resources in helping to ensure that a community it serves has the necessary recreational and social infrastructure that these pickleball courts will represent. In terms of the negotiations, sidebar discussions seem to suggest that even details such as site drainage would indicate that progress is indeed being made. I would be remiss if I didn't express the West Vancouver players' concern about land leases of this sort that might include language where even if BC Hydro approves a lease of building courts on their land, they would add a clause stating that at any time they could ask for their land back within a specified time frame. Given this real possibility, the question would be, would district have confidence in the lease terms that its asset was secure, and under such terms would councillor support the idea of building courts on the BC Hydro land? West Vancouver players are no less persistent in our preferences, and we look at the calendar in the hope that soon a final agreement will produce the facilities we seek to the benefit of all West Vancouver, and in particular those of us on the west side. I also wish to recognize and indicate our appreciation to you, Mr. Mayor, in making these negotiations a priority, recalling, I believe, your comment expressing a wish that work be done by summer, the start of that work in the spring. I would also add particular thanks to staff who we understand have been front and center in efforts to make these courts a reality. Indeed, additional pickleball courts represents an opportunity to create and expand community connections to share with our neighbors in this part of the district. We look forward to successful deliberations and a proper solution, and thank you for listening to me this evening.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to having you back here soon.
Am I to read something into that, Mr. Mayor?
We're just, our staff are working very hard. I think we're all in the same mindset on this. Could I ask Councillor Watt for a motion to it? Oh, sorry, Councillor Leonard, do you have a comment or? No. Councillor Watt, could I ask for a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that the November 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting be adjourned.
Thank you, Councillor Gambill. Question, all in favor? Contrary, carried. Thanks very much. Thanks for joining us tonight. And again, nice to see you, Mr. Taylor.